afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our live learning special edition on stair treads. Hope everyone's doing well, staying safe these days, and hopefully we're going to be back out there conducting business as usual soon. Well, I'm Jody Clayton. I'm your CCA product consultant. I'm here today with Nick Carter from Hard Surface Technical, and he's going to walk us step by step, literally, through everything about the stair treads installation process. So this is going to be a great opportunity for you guys to learn some tips and tricks as well as your install questions answered by one of our experts. Because we know installation can be tricky and each product is slightly different, requiring slightly different methods and tools. So by the end of the day, we want you guys to be completely confident talking through the installation of this product. And if you have any questions during the workshop, as always, just use the question feature on your screen and we'll get them answered for you. So we'll go ahead and get started. Well, like I say, this is Nick Carter, our hard surface technical rep. Nick, just for our viewers and get to know you better, what exactly do you do for us here at Shaw?
Thanks, Jody. What I do, as well as my department does for Shaw, is from the inception or design of products, we start testing those products, doing test installs in-house first, and we'll take them out and test them in homes. So we'll work on the front end, developing those products as well as evaluating them, see how they perform, whether it's a locking system, a step tread system, the finish wear on them, all kind of parameters to test for. Then we'll work on the installation guidelines, making sure that product's complete. Once it gets pushed out to the market, we support the sales folks, customers, end users by doing trainings. We can go out to dealers, do seminars, trainings, as well as be on job sites. So if a dealer has a larger job or building some homes, we could be on that job site to assist those installers and train them. Other things we do is inspections. We'll go out and do claim inspections and stuff like that.
Great. Well, now, so how long you been at Shaw? How long now?
I've been with Shaw for 5 years. So prior to that, I grew up in a family business doing installation. We focused on hardwood, sand and finish, third generation. And we got into doing some resilient products in the early 2000s when that push started coming back into the market, a little bit on the commercial side. So I made that transition to Shaw 5 years ago and into the technical side of it. But I still get to do the installation as well.
Yeah. Well, I know I've attended a couple of your sessions. They're always good and very informative. I know a lot of when I was in inside sales, which is now the account success group, they always attended them and it was always great. But well, going down to the stair treads, I know that we used to have that other one that was a HDF core that had a left, a right, and then a center. But now these are new, right? We've got a new supplier of these, so they're more of a PVC core, right? Is that correct?
Right. So I got a small piece right here today, but what you can see right here is if we flip over and look at the back of it, we can see this has got a shinier, obviously it's PVC compared to that MDF core. One of these benefits of these new step tread system is we see this outside angle right here. So this is going to be on both sides of the tread system. So if I had a whole length right here, I'd have this notch right here on this side as well. So the benefit of that is if I'm going out to a job site to give, to look at it, give an estimate, and I need to order these, I don't need to take into account that I need to order, 5 left-hand return or 5 open-end returns or 5 right return open-end. So these already come pre-notched, so I just order them and I'm good.
Good, that's great. Well, now what are some of the main things people need to consider before purchasing or installing stair treads? What would be the benefit, and what is something they need to think about possibly?
So I would say one main thing to look at, and I've ran into this myself on doing an installation on a side job, is making sure the width of the step is wide enough. So if you're going out to give that estimate, take some measurements of those steps. Understand that a lot of these steps, say for example, if I got carpet on there and I'm going to be pulling that carpet off, if
Right.
it's got a bullnosing on, if I need to rip that bullnosing off or that overlap, maybe it's a 2x10 or 2x12 that's on there, and I need to rip that off to make it flush, I need to account for the width of my steps. So what I don't want to do is rip that off, then my steps not wide enough to meet code or to be within the safety of those folks that are walking up and down it for the homeowner. So that's, I would say that's the main thing you want to look at is
Right.
the run of the step as well as the rise.
Right. That makes sense. Well, now, what are the main, or what is the first thing you do when you purchase them and you get them out to the job site? What is the first thing you need to do to get started when installing stair treads? What do you need to
So,
look at?
for example, we're installing these treads over, we're pulling carpet off, right? So we're going to pull that carpet off. We want to make sure we pull all the tack strip out as well as
Hmm.
the staples. So if you've got spindles on the outside edge, say for example, I got a spindle right here. I've been pretty lucky where I've been able to at least take an oscillating saw and cut it off right here, then pull it out. Sometimes these things are stuck up top and it's a possibility. If you can't get that, that brad nail, or if it's glued up top, there's a possibility, it could break. So, I mean, you might have to purchase some new ones.
Yeah.
So, for example, I would cut this off. You can actually put the tread on if you want to re-drill the holes, but you're going to have to cut, you're going to have to cut that distance off anyway. So,
Okay.
if you get it out, you can cut the top of the length off to make that distance. You can re-drill that hole in top of the new stair tread
Oh, cool.
and set it down. What I've done in the past, and it's worked pretty good, is I'll just cut it off, and when I go back to reinstall these spindles, I'll take a level, make sure this is plumb both directions, and I'll take a brad nailer and fasten it down into the tread itself and use some caulk to fill in those holes.
Cool. Well, someone asked,
So,
are the order codes different on the new treads from the older ones? And I believe that is, and we can get you that information. I think it is a different code, order code or style number on these.
mhm.
So someone asked that question. I wanted to make sure we got that answered. And but yeah, with that, it is different, and I can send you that. I have your name. I'll get you that information. Well, now, what tools after you kind of check everything out? What is what tools do you need when you get started? I mean, what do you usually bring to the job site?
So what I'm going to bring is, first off, for installing these, you're going to need a compound sliding saw, a table saw, air compressor, brad nailer. I like to use like an 18 gauge, 2-inch brad nails. Other tools I'll need is always use safety glasses, dust mask. And the reason I like to use a dust mask, I'm cutting all this material, but when I'm prepping these steps, so for example, if I've got that bullnose, this is my existing step, and I got that bullnose on, if I need to rip that off, I want to wear a mask when I'm cutting because I'm going to be kind of close to it. Gloves as well. So I'm going to go ahead and put my safety glasses on and my glove. Other
Now,
tools I'll need for the prep is going to be, if I'm pulling those staples out,
right.
I'm going to use some snips, flat bar. I can use a flat bar to help take that tack strip out. I'll need a chisel as well and a hammer. So, for example, if I'm going through that step of if I needed to remove that bullnosing, if that bullnosing, that overlap stuck out too far compared to how far this sticks in, I'd say I'm gonna have to rip it back. So
Okay.
And I would say every job I've done, I've ran into that situation. I've ran into
Right.
situations where I've got lucky a couple of times where the steps themselves weren't installed good enough. So I
Right.
was able to take them off and take them out to the table saw and rip that flush and always re-glue and re-screw these back on. So that's
Awesome.
another key thing is
Yeah.
when you're doing that prep work, you want to make sure you get rid of any noises that are in these step systems. Because I would say if a homeowner is getting these new steps in, people get accustomed to hearing noises in their floors or in their homes. So, and I'm one of them. I'll hear squeaks in my floor and it doesn't even register. So walking up and down steps, you might hear that, if you've got carpet on.
Right.
But once you get that new floor, it doesn't really register until you start paying attention. So making sure,
Right.
you alleviate all those noise issues by either, if you're able to pop it up and rip that front off and re-glue it to those risers and, put it down and screw it down, that's the best way. I've been into situations where I've had to actually cut that nosing off on site. So I would say every step system's going to be different. They've got their own character. I mean, all of them's got their own characteristics. So, for example, if I did have to cut it off, leaving the existing steps on, what I like to do is, I'll just take a ruler, with the end on it. I'll slide this up underneath here. So this is my existing tread. I'll slide this over, and I'll get a flush mark right here. So I'll just transfer this up to the top and make that mark right there. And I'll transfer that mark all the way down the length of my board that I need to cut off. Then I'll take a skill saw. You can use a skill saw, oscillating saw, jigsaw if you want to. I prefer to use a skill saw. I'll make that cut, and I can only cut so far, so the skill saw is going to stop. So then I'll take my oscillating saw and I'll finish that cut off flush. So I've got all of that complete. I've got it, flushed off all the way up. I get everything good and cleaned up. And while I'm doing that, if I have to cut on the inside, I'm going to isolate that whole area of plastic. So wrapping plastic up. So I prefer if I can get these off, they come off easy, go rip them outside and don't make as much mess. But if you got to, make sure you plastic
Yeah.
off.
Awesome. Now, when are we? Now
Another
we've already transitioned to the new ones, right? I mean, they're already. I know that some of them may not. That some may not be in stock. I know that Coretec, their version, which is the same exact thing, is in stock. But we've already made the transition. Is that correct? Someone had asked that question. When are we transitioning to the new one? So that has already happened, right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, good. Now, do they have the same texture as the old ones? I mean, like the new ones, are they on top? I mean, you still have the same texture?
Actually, that's a good question. So let me grab this. So this right here, actually, the old ones were
Mm-hmm.
smooth.
Oh,
This
okay.
actually does have a texture, so that's the benefit of it. So if I had a floor that I was installing
Right.
that was, had some type of texture to it, the older ones, they were smooth, so it kind of looked a little different. So these look just like the floor.
Oh, awesome. So that, yeah, you have more. So you actually have a better texture. That
Right,
on the new.
exactly.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
I kind of like it too. It's got a little bit of texture
Yeah.
on it, so it helps grip your foot a
Yeah.
little better.
Has a
Also,
better
another
look.
thing that
Also.
comes, that comes in that box with these treads, I forgot to mention earlier, is that end cap right here. So these are going to come already 45. They're a little bit longer than this, but you can make your cuts on this to
Right.
create this. So I'll talk a little bit about this when I get
Okay.
to it. So going into the installation, so we've got our steps set, we're ready to install. How I want to install this is I want to install my riser first, then I install my step, then I'll install my riser, and I install my step. So I keep that process going. First off, what I want to look at doing is if I've got any closed wall, I can use a stair jig tool where I can pull that out and get the angles, and I can transfer that angle back onto the top of this tread, and I can mark that and cut it so I can get a direct, a nice fit. One thing I like to do is you can also use a T-bevel or an angle finder. Slide this over into this corner, tighten it up, get your angle of your tread that you need to cut on and transfer, transfer it to that tread. If I had an open step system like this, what I generally do is I'll measure the back and the front of it. So what I'll do is take my tape measure. My tape measure's got a little glue on it, so it's going to make a little noise. So I'll take my measurement on the back and the front, and when I'm placing my measurements, I want to, I can put that same measurement on the front and back of this as well. And if it's got a slight angle on it, I'll just take a metal ruler or, a straight edge and trace that line. And I'll go set it up in my my compound sliding miter saw. And I got that line on there, so I'll adjust my angle of my saw. It might be a degree. I mean, it might be, point 0.05 compared to, notching it over all the way to a 1. So I'll lock that down, and I'll cut it directly on that line. So I get a nice even fit on that end.
That's great.
So I went ahead and pre-cut everything, so I'm not moving around and making a bunch of noise. Some of the other stuff we'll need for installation, I like to use a little bit of super glue. And the reason I use that super glue is on these ends right here, this back side, I'm gonna have to 45 that out right there. And I gotta make a return going back into the wall.
Right.
So what I'll usually do is, if I've got this whole piece right here, so you can see that pretty good. I've got a whole piece right there, right?
Right.
So it comes 45.
Mm-hmm.
Place a 45 on this end before I even cut my length. I go ahead and
Right.
place a 45, and I go ahead, and if you can see this little notch right there,
Right.
so that's where I want to cut my end piece off. So this end piece on this side right here is going to fit back on there. So what I'll do is, once I get my first tread installed, my first length cut, I'll go ahead and start making these up and gluing that end piece on. I might do 5 or 6 at a time. And
Oh,
so
okay.
as I'm going up the steps, they're ready to go. And that piece right there that I just glued on is good and secure.
You don't have to stop in the middle, and you got a few done where you can progress faster.
Right.
Yeah.
So these are going to have to be glued on as well. So I like to use a tube urethane adhesive, Loctite PL adhesive, other, other stuff will made is, brad nails, 18 gauge.
Is
It
there
works
one
fine
adhesive
to
works
me.
better? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. It's good.
Is there one adhesive works better than the other as long as you use? You have a preference, I'm sure, but like as long as it is a urethane based adhesive, is
Yeah,
that
I
right?
prefer to use, urethane based adhesive.
Okay.
One thing when
Like
we're
you said.
prepping these steps, you want to make sure these steps are good and clean. So
Right.
if I pull that carpet off or whatever's on there and there's tons of paint, I can take an orbital sander, maybe with a 40 grit paper, sand all that paint off.
Right.
Also with the back of this new PVC, it's
Yep.
pretty slick, right?
Right.
So what I like to do is I can take a sanding block, a piece of 60 grit sandpaper. Orbital sander is going to be a lot faster. I'll take my orbital sander and I'll just rough that up, and I'll take a rag with some denatured alcohol, clean it off as I'm going up. So what that allows is I'm getting a rougher texture on that product. That's going to
Right.
let that adhesive get a little bit better grab to it. So I think
Perfect.
that's pretty good.
Makes
Um,
sense.
Pretty good way to get some good grab. Other stuff we'll need is color putty. So right here I got, this is a gray, uh, I'd say a grayish colored tread. So what I did was I got white and a dark walnut color. So
Yeah.
I actually take these, mix them up. You can actually get a couple of these, mix them up, and actually match them up to your
Nice.
tread. And also, at the end of the job, we use trim caulk, caulk all the bottom of the riser in the sides and stuff. So starting out with our installation, everything's good. So we'll go ahead and start installing this. One quick thing, another tool, I'll kind of demonstrate this as we go, is I like to use a hand roller as well. And the reason for that is I put that glue on there, and yeah, you're going to be walking up the steps and dispersing the glue, but if I roll that glue out, it'll get a little bit better contact
Yeah.
transfer to the existing steps. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my glue in, get everything ready. Make sure this stuff comes out. Sometimes you buy this stuff and it's hard to squeeze out. So let's go ahead and get started. Grab some stuff. So as we get started, I went ahead and completed this one. My next step is to put the riser on. So the riser is going to have to be cut the length as well as the height. So, a lot of times with these risers, I've got this overhang right here, this nose and overhang. So what I'll do is I'll measure my height, my tape measure. If, they're going to be consistent within, I'd say a 1/4 inch tighter range. So let's go ahead and rip a bunch of these to that height. So it's going to make my install a little bit more efficient. So I got everything ripped up. I want to take my adhesive. I'm just going to apply it to the back of this. So I'll do a square. Just like that, and I'll zigzag it across. You can't really see it right here, but what I did with my tip is I cut it off with a utility knife,
Right.
and I cut a V notch
Mm-hmm.
in that tip. And what that allows me to do is when I'm crawling along, I'm going to get a consistent bead of adhesive throughout there. A lot of times when you just cut it at an angle and you press down, you might miss get less adhesive in certain spots and get, thicker in certain spots. So it's going to give me a good consistent spread throughout it. So apply this, set it up. Another thing I'm going to look at is I want to make sure my risers are plumb as well. You can take a speed square, put it up right here, and check it. I like to take a level. One thing I don't want to do is have an angle riser where it's tilted in. That just doesn't look good. So check it for plumbness, make sure it's all good. And what I'll do is I'll take my thread and I'll shoot up close up top. I also add a couple down here as well, so pretty close. If I'm gonna be caulking this, I'll just take some caulk and fill in those holes as well.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. No, it wasn't that bad.
So my step's ready to go on next. So I took my oil sander, I've
Mm-hmm.
roughed this up, cleaned it up pretty good. And I'm gonna apply my tube urethane adhesive to this as well. So I'll do that whole square, just like we did on the riser.
Now, I was going to ask you too, can you use any type of underlayment under any of these steps by chance? Or is that maybe bad practice? Does it kind of throw the adhesive, anything out of kilter if you did that?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't recommend using any type of
Okay.
underlayment. I mean, there's really there's
No
no
use in them.
point in it. And the thing is also, if you're using an underlayment, if you glued that underlayment down and
Right.
glued on top of the underlayment, your step is only going to be as good as that bond to that underlayment,
Gotcha.
or the underlayment to the existing step. So potentially over time, it's going to, you're going to have some noise issues and movements. So
Right.
you're recommending directly gluing this to the step itself.
Okay.
So I got my glue on there. I'm ready to install it. I'll get it on there. But first off, before I put that glue on there, I wanted to make sure everything was fit okay, right?
Right.
So before I put the glue on, I wanted to check it and make sure, everything was good to go. Then I'll kind of jumped ahead of myself a little bit. So I'll take my 3-sectional roller. I'll roll it. I'll smack the glue down. That glue right there, it's got some pretty good
Wow.
graph to it. So I could work up. But one thing you can do if you're noticing it, say you're installing, you can actually take a brad nail, hit on the back side, very close to this riser. And by doing that, when I put my next riser up, I'm going to cover that hole.
Oh, okay.
So
Gotcha.
I can tack the back side of the tread itself to the step as I'm going up, so there's no movement with it.
Right.
Installed. So I got my step on. Next, I'm gonna move over to my side. So I went ahead and cut. Like I said, I went ahead and fit that piece on, glued it up. So this is ready to go. I've kind of already sped up the process. So I'm gonna check this, make sure everything looks okay. My 45 looks good. It looks good over here against the wall. I'm gonna apply some glue to the glue. Little dab right here. So I just slide that up, make sure it's flush with this top right here. With my brad nail. And I'll put a couple of brad nails in there for that to hold up. And that's where I was talking about using the color putty. So if I got those little brad nails right there, I can take that color putty, see which one I put it in. See how good that's matched up right there.
Oh, yeah.
Looks
Definitely.
pretty close.
Oh, yeah.
So just take that, fill in those holes right there.
Wow. Looks nice.
And those brad nails are going to help that end hold as I'm installing up. So one thing we got to look at is, finishing these sides off. Sometimes you might run into, insulation. I would say probably every one I've run into, I'm having to do some type of trim. And that's something, I would discuss with the homeowner, or, if you're deciding on what type of trim you want to use. Some people use the base cap underneath here to install it. That's more of a traditional look.
Right.
I don't even know what this is called, but it looks like a 1-inch tall base. But,
Yeah, like a base.
It gives it a little bit, sleeker
Oh,
look.
yeah.
So,
A little more distinguished.
yeah, so I'll shoot these on. Make sure it's lined up on my front. Make sure everything's squared up. Shoot that back again.
Gives it a clean look.
So
Nice.
just kind of finish that off. So when I get done, I want to make sure I cover everything.
Now, for someone, if someone's doing that and they're using that urethane based adhesive, and let's just say they had put a little too much on there, they're doing a DIY or anything like that, and they get a little bit of that adhesive on the step. What is the best thing to clean it with?
So I like to use a little bit of denatured alcohol. If I get a
Okay,
little
just
bit
use
on
alcohol.
there,
Okay.
put a little bit on the rag and wipe it off.
Okay.
Reason I like using denatured alcohol is it evaporates pretty quick.
Right.
And it doesn't leave that oily, filmy residue that smells spirits. So
And
I
of
kind
course,
of
it
learned
don't
that
have
in the past. I grew up using mineral spirits, probably drinking it my whole life. And doing installs, and you're cleaning floors up, and you're like, it's leaving this residue, and you're going back and having to clean it with some alcohol, and might as well just use the alcohol. You're
Right.
saving some time.
Yeah, does a lot better job. Like you said, it evaporates quick, so you don't have to worry about that.
So I'll keep that same process going. We'll make sure that everything's good and snug. I just used all my glue. So don't install it like that, put more glue on.
Yeah, for the sake of time, we'll just do it. Yeah.
So again, I'm going to fasten this up. If I need to, I can put some tack, guys right there. So if you can see, where I fastened it back here, this
Right.
riser covered that. So
That looks
I'm
really good.
good to go with that. So I'll put my end piece on as well. Just kind of keep that same process going.
Right.
So one thing at the end, obviously you're going to have the caulking step. So caulking is, I'd say caulking's not my friend, but I try it. So I'm going to caulk. Also, I'm going to caulk all my trim. I'll put a little dab in my
Just a silicone base
right.
caulk? Yeah, just a silicone base or?
Right, it's just a silicone base, doors and paint trim molding, caulk.
Right.
So I'll put a little dab right here. So what I'll do is, once I get my top area completed, or my top step, I'm gonna go up top and kind of work my way down. Everything's good and clean, and fill in those backs, and then I'll go back and start filling, I'll go back and start filling my length of my risers. So
Yeah, and the
you
one
get
thing I know about,
consistent bead like that.
oh yeah, and the one thing about these steps, either being PVC, even though you don't get a lot of water on your steps or anything, that's one of the last places hopefully you'll have water. But that is totally a waterproof stair tread too, as opposed to the other one was not totally water. It was water resistant, but not waterproof. Correct? Is that right?
Right.
Okay.
So if somebody spills a drink
Yeah.
down steps, it's gonna be good. Just don't walk in the spilled liquid down the steps. Make sure you clean it up. So I'll caulk that side right here. We'll make sure I'm caulking, my side right here around. If I need to, always like to apply some caulk up those sides as well.
Right.
I always keep a couple of rags with me handy. So what I'll do is I'll take a 5-gallon bucket and put a little soap in there, a
Oh,
little
okay.
warm water, and I'll kind of rinse them out as I go. I'll keep one that's kind of, as I'm doing this, I'll keep one that kind of gets dirtied up, and I'll keep a cleaner one to clean it off if I'm making a mess. I'm doing pretty good today, so. So I just kind of keep that clean as I go down. What I don't want to do is, obviously call it and have to go back and think I'm going to try to clean it up later. It's best to keep it clean as I'm working with it.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure I check everything, uh, sure everything looks good.
Well, does anyone have any questions? We'll reach out and see if anyone has any questions so far for Nick as he's went through this process. Do you guys have any kind of detailed questions or anything you'd like to ask him while he's been going through this? Or I know we had a few questions at first, but this would be a good time if you guys have seen something that you want to ask him a question about. Now's a great time.
Yeah, so I mean, this is pretty simple to do. I mean, you kind of
Right.
see how easy it is. I would say the hardest work is the prep and pulling carpet off the steps and pulling all those staples out. It takes a little bit of time. I mean, you get efficient with it, but that's going to be the most work putting these treads on. Is once you get to this step, it's it's easy to install.
Right. Now, here's someone asked a question. How long do you have to wait after setting the treads before you can walk on them? That's a good question.
So I mean, you're going to be walking up and down them. So I would, if you're tacking them in the back like I did back here, and putting the risers on them, the steps are going to hold. So you should be able to walk up and down as you need. I wouldn't be toting, have a bunch of people toting heavy furniture up and down.
Right.
I'd wait a day before I did all that, but
Maybe let the
lightly
adhesive
walking up
cure.
and down, you're fine.
Good. That's perfect. Now, someone asked, do we need to backfill the bullnose edge for support or anything?
No, that's the beauty of this product is, I mean, that's as stiff as it gets. So
Okay.
there's no bend to it. So no, you don't have to do anything like that.
Great. That's good questions. Of course, great
Yes.
answers, of course, but yeah, good question. Do we have any more questions? Anybody? Now's a great time. Anybody have any questions like that? Oh, we do have a couple more. Let's see. Is there a lot more involved if they don't want the white risers and use the matching plank?
So
If they
no,
don't want to use.
I mean, if they want to use the matching planks, it's going to be the same process. So,
Okay.
I mean, you can install it directly
Okay.
up the riser as well. One thing, if you're using the matching, if you do put a couple of brad nails in there to hold it up, make sure you can use that color putty. Again, I'll put these brad nails up here so that bull nose covered over, so I hid those.
Okay.
And I do have a couple down here, but I just filled those in, so fill them in with that color putty. It's going to
Perfect.
hide those
It looks
colors.
really good. Now,
So
what?
if you're installing it, with the plank material, and it's pretty, your riser's pretty flat on the back
Mhm.
side, the one that's left on there, tacking it up top and gluing it, you can probably get by without having to, nail it down once that
Okay.
glue holds.
Cool. Now, someone asked, what if you have a floating staircase?
A floating staircase, so
Yeah,
what we would need to wrap around it.
I guess so. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that kind of gets tough. I mean,
Yeah. Well, if you can.
you're looking at, I mean, if you're trying to wrap a product around, it might not be the product, to go on something like that. I've had some staircases where they were like that, and it's just, a solid thick piece of wood that was
Oh yeah.
just refinished, but it's hard to get, product wrapped all the way around that. And, especially for this, it's just got that one bull nose on that one
Mm-hmm.
side.
Sounds good. If you do not use a plank on the riser, do you have to remove the pad from the back side of the plank before adhering? There's not a pad on there though, right?
Right.
Or
If there's not a pad on there,
mm-hmm.
or obviously there's not one on there, but if there is one on there, if it's
Mm-hmm.
just for a riser,
Yeah,
you can leave it
yeah.
on.
If you're using a board
Uh,
of, yeah.
you can leave it on for a riser. If I was
Mm-hmm.
installing product with pad, an EVA pad or whatever on steps, I'd take it off and glue it
Okay.
directly to that product.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. So take the pad off if you have one for using a board for a ride. All right. Any more questions? We've got some good questions, that's for sure. Informative. Yeah. No more questions? Well, Nick, that was great, man. I really appreciate it. That was very
Appreciate it.
informative. Yep. I hope everyone got something out of it. Well, I guess that does it. If we don't have any more questions, hope you guys got something out of this. I hope it was informative. It was for me. I thought it was great, Nick. I greatly appreciate it. I really do. If you guys have any questions, come up with anything, you can email me and I'll get in touch with Nick, and we'll get your questions answered. Everyone, I appreciate you guys attending any of our live learnings, but this one has been great. Oh, we do have a question, another question coming through. Posting to ShowPad. Yes, we are going to try. We're going to get the everything fixed, edited, and we're going to put this on ShowPad. Absolutely. That's a great question. But well, Nick, I greatly appreciate your time today, and I appreciate it. It was great. Great job as always. And like I say, if anybody needs to reach out, please do that. Nick, you have a great day. Everyone else have a great day. And thanks for attending. And have a great one.